There we go. Okay. Good morning. Is it loud enough? Or it's just me. Okay. Okay. Good morning. My name is Michelle Kuruma, and I'm a minister's assistant. And I wanted to share with you today called Pivot and Progress. I thought of this teaching when I thought of this when I was preparing for today. Practice the true way of faith and eliminate doubts. You are allowed to live in the midst of divine virtue. So practicing faith and decision making, things can become clearer. So I thought of how I came to the Konko church. And it was primarily through women of faith and the early pioneer women who led their faith and showed me and led me here. It turns out that I have known the Konko faith my whole life, even though I didn't actually come here it's been about 9 years now. But Kami was there waiting to call me until I was ready. So I would like to thank some of the pioneer women who came before, who have led the way. Our first KCNA chief operating officer was the Reverend Haruko Ishiwata in the 1970s and 80s. And so she was a trendsetter for her time, and she was a very wonderful leader and very capable leader. We had our first woman head minister, the Reverend Shinko Fukuda, from our church here, San Francisco, in 1958. And the second head minister was the Reverend Fusa Yamada from the Church of San Jose. And the first assistant chief administrative officer was our own Reverend Joan Tolosa in 2001. So all these women have affected my life in so many ways. So I really appreciate the spirit of these women and the knowledge and what the Mitama have shared with me for those who have passed. So for those who don't know me, I'm a special education teacher, a counselor, and I also do fitness with young people and helping them gain coordination, because that's something I had to learn myself. So I wanted to focus on some of the realities of today as to continue to grow and to learn. And there's gains and losses. There's good days and bad days. But what do you do with that? Do you stay in it, or do you pivot from it? Do you shift a direction so you're more successful? Do you shift a direction so you're happy? Not temporary happiness, long-term happiness. Practice the true way of faith and eliminate doubts. You are allowed to live in the midst of divine virtue. So based on your faith, all things are possible. I probably told you this story, but I think it's important and it bears light. So there's something called the Nikkei relays. And it's one of those races that, I guess there's different categories. So I did the 880. I was in track in high school. I was average. And somebody lapped me 2 times. I had to run another almost 15 minutes after she was done by myself while everyone's staring at me. But I did it. And I thought I was a failure. I thought, oh my goodness, I don't give up. I'm going to finish this. So I did finish, eventually. And afterwards, everyone's clapping. I'm like, okay, why are you clapping? I lost. But I did not lose. Because Kami-sama made sure I wasn't a quitter, I didn't give up, and I proved to myself I can do this, even though it was 15 minutes later. But I also realized that the word, I didn't lose. I came in second place out of 2 people. So I did not lose. That's how you look at it. And in the Kami faith, it's definitely how you look at it. So I was thinking about that some more, and I found this teaching in the Gorikai. You should not ask Kami about where to find the things that you lost. If they are absolutely necessary, pray to Kami with a heart of love, as mentioned before. You will then receive Kami's assistance. Whether everything is returned or partially returned depends on your faith. So if you lose your keys, many of us do, I certainly do, maybe you can't find your jacket, your favorite this. Or where's this in the house? Or where's this dish? Where's that? That's okay. They'll either appear or it's not really that important in life. But when you're making a big decision and you keep working towards something over and over and over again, and you keep working at it, and it doesn't happen, it's like hitting a brick wall. Those things, can we lose them? Can we stop doing them? Do we need to keep doing them? Or can we pivot from it? Acknowledge it's there. This is not going to happen. Now let's do something else and pivot a different direction. Whether you're young, medium, or 93 years old, there's still something to pivot from, to grow and to change. So one of those things is to really, really look at what is important. So last night, Eiji-san and we were watching Japanese TV. And for those who are younger, it's called enka. It's like old school Japanese music. There's someone named Kobayashi Sachiko. She's a very good singer. She's like the female Frank Sinatra next to Misora Hibari. She's quite good. She sang this song, Shiawase ni naru, shiawase ni naru, michi ni wa futatsu aru. In English, that means happiness or good fortune is on one or two streets. In other words, you have two choices. Stay on the street you're on, good. You don't like that street, learn something from it and find a new street. But either way, you will get to your destination. Like driving in San Francisco, which is very interesting sometimes. I actually learned how to drive in San Francisco. I think it's pretty good. So I thought of some more detailed things. What was lost? So in your own life, think about, what did you lose? What do you not need anymore? Is it helping you reach your goal of what you're looking for? Is it developing your faith? Is it something that is good for you, but maybe in an earlier part of your life when you were younger? Or maybe it's something that was great for a time, but now you need to move to new things or different things. Just like the stages of life. So I'd like to link everything with food. So I thought of noodles. Everybody eats somen, udon, spaghetti. I eat brown pasta, low carb, vegetable pasta. Not everyone likes that, okay. But most people eat soba, udon, and maybe spaghetti in some form. Well, just like our faith doesn't look the same for everybody. It shows differently, internally and externally. So you know those curly noodles that are really good? The curly rainbow noodles. That if you want to eat those pasta noodles, that's part of your faith. That's sort of the windy part or the personal part of your life where you think things through very deeply. Or maybe you're one of those people that really thinks a lot before you make a decision. They have the long noodles for spaghetti. Or just different things, whether it's somen or udon. So I was thinking, so in a week, I ate one of each kind of pasta, udon, somen, zaru soba, because it has wheat. And that's the balance of faith, the stages of your faith, the different parts of your faith. So when you eat your noodles, as we all do, think about that. Okay, I had zaru soba yesterday. Today I'm going to have udon. Tomorrow I'll have somen, because it cooks faster, which is all a range of our faith in our lifetime. So practicing our faith every day and accepting things that are good, the wins and the losses. And if it's a loss, try to see it in a positive way. Pivot from it. Move on from it, or improve it, or work really, really hard to make it work, if that's what is good. So this week, I think it would be great if you have a somen, udon, and a soba in 1 week. And think of the different parts of your life and your faith and see what happens. Because they represent different parts of you, your heart, your soul, external world, and who you were when you were a child and who you are now. Whether you're young or 93, faith is an ongoing journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. will now have a few words from our head minister, Radhi Sensei.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Spring Memorial Service. It's really good to see a lot of new faces, and welcome back, a lot of people, too, from far away. Recently, just yesterday, it was brought to my attention that there was various things happening, online especially. And so what happened was, do you know the 442nd Regimental Fighting Team? Yeah, of World War II. And so their information was all wiped from the internet, or wiped from this one website. And it was shocking, right? The first thing that comes to your mind is like, wow, like, are we reversing in time machine? But it was just shocking. And so I didn't know what to say. But I think it's important to bring it up, that it's so important to understand that the sacrifice, the hard work, the discrimination, there's so much things that the 442nd and people of that generation went through. It's just terrible, and it cannot be repeated again. And it's so important that it remain on there as a reminder for ourselves, for our children, grandchildren, decades, generations from now. People are going to look back on this as like, wow, wow, that's the kind of suffering and sacrifice they did. And it's so important to remember that. But some good news came in. Hiroshi sent me an email, Denise as well, was that they put back all the information back on because there was such an outpouring of anger and rage. And it's understandable. Anybody would be super upset to have history being erased. And that's kind of what was going on. And so it's like, what do we do with this anger, right? And so anger is a real common emotion. It's really easy to access too, because I see it all the time driving too. And it's like, what do we do with that, right? And so I remember taking this the grief counseling classes. I always mentioned this in the past. Was the first question they asked us was, what's the first emotion you turn to when something happens? The first setback, setback happens. What do? Depression, anxiety, fear. A lot of people were anger. First emotion that people go through whenever there's a setback, whenever something happens. What do we do with this anger? What do we do as Konko faith practitioners, as followers of this faith, or any faith for that matter? What can we do with this anger that's kind of blinding us? It could cause more than just local anger. It could create division over time, as we now see throughout the world. It all starts with a little bit of anger. A little bit of anger starts getting bigger and bigger, and then we start getting divided. And so within Konko faith, I think it's really important to understand that, anger is natural, normal, and required to our survival. It's important. There is a time and a place for it. But it's when, what do we do with it? Because sometimes if it's within us, it boils, it festers, and it makes our lens of life become more clouded as well. There's even teachings like that in the Konko faith. The founder said that anger casts a cloud over your heart, over your eyes, because when we have that much anger in our lives, it just tends to cloud things over. And so with this faith, what's really important is to definitely toritsugi, to pray, to send some of that anger, send some of these concerns, send these worries that we have in our lives to Kami-sama. And so there's ministers, Joanne Sensei, Kawa Sensei, Alan Sensei, and I, even Eiji Sensei, Eiji-san here too, to tell us about what's going on in our lives, what's going on in your lives. Because there's so many things, like yesterday, was out of our control. It was completely out of our control. And I thought, dang, what can I do about this? But the outpouring of support that came up was, we need to have this back on. And the very next day, or that day actually, that evening, it was back online. So if you go to if you look up 442nd, the military, army.mil, it's their government website for the Army. And so it's back online again, all the history, all the important facts, and the valor, and the courage, and the sacrifice, all that's on there, back on again. And it's due to everyone's, that anger was channeled to do something, took action. So many people took action. They voiced their concerns online. They went to Congress even. And so that's when a lot of change happened. Through this ayokakeo, through working together, through using what we're gifted with, this anger, to make it work with something. Sometimes anger motivates us too. You might notice that too. Like, oh, I'm gonna do this anyway, and then we kind of get work done because of that anger. So anger is also a blessing too. So it's not all bad. It's not all bad. It's important for our lives, but it's like, how do we channel this to one that can help bring unity, help bring healing, and help bring some progress to the future as well. So I hope everyone can think about that today. And it certainly was really interesting how quickly the turn of events happened. One day, it was down and it's back up again. And that was just very inspiring to see this whole community working together again. I have a few announcements.